Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Welcome. It's Richard Listens on Sports here at UBN Radio at the Universal Broadcasting Networks, live at Sunset Gower Studios in beautiful Hollywood, California. I'm your host, Peter Sophie. I feel like I've suddenly got like a public radio vibe going on or something. It's so weird. I don't know where that is. Like last time I came out of the gun, like I was like hyped up on caffeine or something.
We're messing with your biorhythms intentionally.
Yes, that maybe it's the soothing calmness of one of our sponsors. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the presence of the guest in the room that we're very excited to introduce a little bit later. If you've seen the promos on Facebook.com, Richard Listens, you know who our guest is. But but I'm going to save introducing her for just a little bit still, just to keep our audience like on the edge of their seat. Like, who's it going to be? One thing I'm really excited about is because when you see the promos, don't show any pictures yet, Jarvis. When you see the promos of our guests, you would wonder, I will say this, she plays violin. She's a violinist. And it's like, you're like, it's Richard Listens on Sports. What the heck? And actually, I got to bring Dr. Richard Ohlberger, everyone. I'm sitting here, we don't want to be looking at my mug this whole time. It's this guy's show, So Dr. Richard, he's the psychologist extraordinaire, and, we like to talk about sports.
I'm digging this NPR vibe you have going on.
And, but you're wondering, like, a violinist on a sports show, what the heck? But, if you keep in mind, the motto of our show is sports and life and the intersections between.
And literally, We know when we study sports psychology, the performance psychology, all the research studies, there's a lot of overlap. There's peak performance specialists, mental skills coaches. So we are remiss to ignore those who are excelling in other areas of life. And we try and feature that on the show. We've tried to have equestrian. Last guest was a movie producer who's overcome quite a bit. So we know there's quite a bit to learn about flow states, peak performance, mental focus, and tremendous lessons in character from the friends that we meet along our way and on our journey. And so it's no coincidence that our planned guest for tonight, Mr. Paul Shirley, got snowed in snowy Kansas. And sometimes we know when the universe closes one door, it opens another. So it is wonderful that in the midst of my training, literally, our guest, I'm not going to give away all the details yet, but was training with me, and the fact that really opened up a lot of inspiration for me that musicians are now, or maybe for a long time have been, maybe we'll get some insight into that, using functional movement and using understanding of their bodies and how they have to hold themselves in certain positions for tremendous amounts of time and under tremendous amounts of pressure and stress to perform at such a high level. So we're going to learn more about that today, and how they are probably using modern science and exercise to strengthen and build their techniques so that they can perform. They perform in some ways a lot longer than modern athletes do. So
right. I'm on board, man. It sounds great. So before we get to that, don't forget, even before we bring on our guest, we are going to have our fitness wellness tip with our fitness wellness expert, Caitlin. We'll be bringing her on in just a minute. So that's coming up. So many exciting things coming up. And don't forget, if you are watching us on Facebook.com, Richard Listens, check in, leave a comment, ask a question. We'll try to get to it on air. Already, let's see, Dr. Richard, Matthew Peugeot says, Happy Thanksgiving from the Gulf Coast.
Thank you. And Matt has been sharing bike paths from all over Pensacola, Florida, and all over on his travels. So we love that in our guests. Please share your journeys, share things you're doing to get inspired or explore we love it.
Absolutely. My old childhood friend, Art Gracia, is watching us from Arizona. He and I grew up on Cherokee Road in Carpentersville, and we played baseball together as young boys, and we are still both avid Cubs fans. So hello to you, Art. Glad to see you tuning in. And if I don't mention your name, it's just because the names kind of come and go, and sometimes I just don't get to see them all. But I see Jewel is watching. Hello, Jewel. How are you? Jewel is a magnificent social media marketer that actually helps Dr. Richard with his social media.
Quite a bit.
And a wonderful person. And we're happy that she's watching right now. So anyways, before we get to Coach Kit Kat, we not only have a sponsor to talk about, but a second one. And but first of all, before we get into the new one, which is very exciting, 2 sponsors on Richard Listens on sports is good stuff. So number one, Jarvis, I think we have the graphic for Organic Relief. We introduced them last week. This is a wonderful product. Dr. Richard, you got the bottle right there. It's Organic Relief. These are
I'm gonna break out my hand modeling again.
natural, organic, vegan, kosher, you name it. The best price in town. This particular bottle is Stress Relief, which kind of ties in with Dr. Richard's method of, somatic experiencing and smells. I don't know the
Whatever
technical
it
terms.
takes, healing, textures, smells, whatever helps you relax and stimulate your senses and get out of some of those stressful thoughts, tense moods, tense muscles. So
It's great stuff. We use it. Dr. Richard uses it in his office. My friends use it. Just go to organicrelief.us, organicrelief.us, and enter the promo code Dr. Richard, DR Richard, for 10% off your entire order. Amazing. Secondly, we would like to thank a new sponsor, Quest Bars.
yeah, I'd like to thank my dear friend Peter Hura, H-U-H, over at Quest for sending me this fabulous Quest nutrition bar.
Show them the box. Look at this box.
This is, I got holidays came early for Dr. Richard and Richard Listens here. So I know how hard it is to be busy and on the go. My favorite is the Quest Hero Bar, because everyone needs to feel like a hero once in a while. See, that could be a tagline. If you use that,
I love it.
I want proceeds to this show right here. Okay.
You got it. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the friends. We appreciate the show. We want to grow. We want to do more. We want to give back. That's the whole premise here, and we want to bring on more exciting guests, and we want to go to those guests as well and hit the road. So we appreciate all the support.
And so thanks, Peter, over at Quest. And we'll be sending our guest home with a Quest protein bar. I'm sure she's going to be like, what, are you kidding me? A Quest protein bar? That is amazing.
I'm seeing commercials all over the place.
Yes. She's looking at it right now. Like, she's like, I got to get me one of those. I'm like, me too. I've been looking at this box like all afternoon. Like, man, I got to try me one of those. Okay. So thank you, Quest.
But gluten-free, only 110 calories a bar and low sugar and 12 grams of protein, at least for these ones, I think.
Jules, my Thai coach, eats those bars, so that's good.
Well, gee, and Jewel has been known to beat up one or two few people.
She has,
on the way.
Yeah. And maybe then she'll let us off the hook for talking about sponsors for so long. But we love our sponsors.
Moving on.
Waiting online, we usually have her on Zoom. Today we have her on the phone because she is a traveling person, and travel, fitness, wellness. It's our resident fitness wellness expert, Caitlin Patricia Weiler. Welcome.
Hi guys, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Awesome. Well, I have to say thank you to our sponsors too, because I have been a Quest bar fan for like the beginning of time.
There you go.
And I've tried every bar. I love the Hero bars too. Those are awesome because it feels like, the bar itself is a hero, right? If you guys have tried them, because it feels like you're treating yourself, but they're so low in sugar and high in protein that
it's like a combo bar yogurt.
Sweet treat, yeah. I love them. So thank you, Quest. Yay.
Yes.
Where are you calling us from today?
Well, I am actually, well, I'm on my about 11th hour of travel. I left Minneapolis, Minnesota at 3 a.m. Well, actually, no, that was Connecticut. See, I don't even know where I am. Now I'm in another country on a bus, but I'll keep that a secret for now, and I'll let you guys know next week with some fitness and wellness tips I've come up with from my new adventure.
Our first
But I
fitness tip
figured
from
it
a
would
bus.
be great to talk about some great tips that would help when you're traveling a lot, because that's all I do. And one of my tips I've already shared is having good, healthy snacks with you when you're on the go. And Quest bars are definitely always one of my go-tos because they go everywhere. You've got a lot of protein and no sugar, and they taste great. But one thing that I made sure to do for myself before this crazy long travel day, other than make sure I get rest and that I stay hydrated, is that I take a zinc supplement a couple of days before I'm going to have crazy travel. Because zinc is a great thing to take that will help boost your immune system. Because whenever you're flying or you're not getting adequate rest and you're moving around a lot, that can really help kind of get you through getting one of those little bugs you might catch on a plane or wherever. So, if you can get them at CVS or Walgreens or any of your basic drugstores. I actually get the zinc tablets that dissolve right in your mouth. And really, I think since I started taking those when I have these crazy travel days, it really helps me not feel that travel lag that next day. So next time any of you guys out there are traveling, try getting a zinc supplement a couple of days before, and I think that might help you get to your vacation or your destination feeling better than ever.
Wow, I like that. And a lot of people are traveling right now for the holidays and everything. So I think I might say, Caitlin, that I zinc. That's a very good fitness wellness tip.
Good one, Peter.
What if hypothetically you're a high-performing musician and you know that you're going to be in a concert the next day? What kind of things do you recommend for bone support or muscle tension?
Well, yeah, I think too, even just deep breathing exercises can all recenter us. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. And I had even thoughtfully put myself in that place today on the plane, just to kind of have some mindful breathing and some stillness, because we're always going, and especially before a performance or any type of competition. Really, that moment of stillness and peace. I think we just live in a society where we're constantly going that we forget how important that is, and that will actually rejuvenate us to make us perform better and to feel better.
Amazing. Caitlin, so grateful that in the midst of all your travels and planes and buses that you were able to step away a moment and get on the phone and keep our audience pleased with your fitness wellness tips. So
and keep Peter awake, apparently.
I wouldn't miss it for anything. I'm dedicated to you guys. I love being on this show, and it's an honor to be a part of it. So
yeah,
I'm excited to hear what your guest has to say tonight, and I look forward to giving you guys another awesome tip on our next show.
Awesome. Yeah, and our guests are loving those photos you're taking from bridges and out in nature. So we're glad you're healing your soul while giving tips for the body.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your show, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Caitlin. Take
See you
care.
live in studio soon.
Yes. Yeah, because actually, I believe our next couple shows in December, we will have Caitlin here in studio with us. So that'll be a whole new exciting dynamic.
That's right.
So that was great. A great fitness wellness tip for those traveling. And a lot of people are traveling now for the holidays as Thanksgiving is coming right around the corner. And speaking of Thanksgiving, we have Thanksgiving because once upon a time, a long time ago, you see, Dr. Richard, we became colonies here on this American continent, breaking away from the British government in England. And our guest today just happens to be from England. How crazy, man. It ties right into Thanksgiving. I love it.
Look at that historical context. And it also ties into my birthday, which is Sunday.
Oh, my God. That's right.
And for some reason, American marketing has sunk in where I want an ice cream turkey for my birthday.
Wow.
So
I love it. An ice cream turkey for Dr. Richard on Sunday. And we should say happy birthday today to our friend John Gershman.
Happy birthday, John Gershman.
And my dear friend Tracy Lehman. It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Wow, and Dr. Richard, right, coming up on Sunday. This is very exciting. I can't wait on the next show to hear about his ice cream turkey.
Yeah.
I love it. So,
And congratulations to our future guest who couldn't make it here today, Paul Shirley on his book
Yeah.
release, and Chris Connors on his book release. So thank you, friends of the show.
oh yeah, amazing. And Paul will be coming on the show on one of our 2 December dates to talk about his book. I think it's called Things I Say on Dates.
Stories I tell
Stories
on
I
dates.
Tell on Dates.
Yes.
So look forward to have former NBA star Paul Shirley here talking about his book. And another future guest, too, is a gentleman named Freddie that we're going to be talking about playing in the developmental basketball league and kind of tying that into, segging into a career in sports psychology, and that's always fun, too.
Yes, sir.
But speaking of guests, I already had the segue before that we broke away from the British government.
Get back
in
into
the-
it. I went to ice cream turkeys. I'm sorry. Donuts
in
and ice
the-
cream turkeys just throw us off here on the show.
So to take you from the 1700s to, is that when we broke away, the 1700s? I don't know my history. To today, in the studio with us, we're very, very fortunate to have our guest here because, like Dr. Richard said in the beginning, we had to reschedule at the last moment, and he met our guest at the gym where he works out, and you've actually, at Studio, we'll say it, Studio Gym, where we've had David Bannock on the show and Garrison Reese, and they've been great guests. And anyway, he met this person there, and her story is amazing, and she's a violinist, and I won't say too much more because we'll talk about it on the air, but I'd like to welcome to the show Sophie Yasmin. And actually, did I pronounce that correctly? I've never said the last part of your name.
I think it was actually better pronounced than ever before. It's actually, it's like my Persian name. So it's not strictly my middle name, but I like to put it in there.
All right.
Yeah, Sophie.
I'm glad.
I mean, we just say Yasmin in England, but Yasmin is more Persian pronunciation.
Wow.
So
All right.
you're on it, yeah.
I'm very happy. So welcome to the show, Sophie.
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy it worked out like this for like the last minute opening, and boom, there you were. And to me, like I said in the beginning, I'm not joking. I think it's so exciting to talk to someone that's a violinist at the level you are and to tie it into performance and all of that and just the way you and Dr. Richard met.
Yeah, and classical music in my home was therapy. So, before there were psychologists, there were therapy. And there was a time, and I do apologize that the bouncing basketball was more appealing than the piano. But that still didn't change the fact that dinner time was literally sacred time when classical music would be played, or my sister, who's a very skilled pianist, would play, or opera would be played. So I'm wondering if you had experiences like that, or what brought you into this whole world.
That sounds very civilized. You know, the classical music over dinner, and no.
That was just
It's-
1 hour of the day.
Yeah, your whole life. No, for me, it was none of my family are actually professional musicians or anything like that. But I think there's the Persian background from my dad's side. And, you know, I think Persians are very musical people. It's within the culture. And my mum's mum was German, and she played the piano. My mum learnt the piano when she was young as well. And my mum enrolled me in classical music lessons from the age of 3. So you're doing, basic musicianship, learning how to sing, to clap in time, and, general musicianship. And then, I started the violin when I was 6 or 7. So I've been playing for the majority of my life now.
Are you saying that clapping in time is like playing a musical instrument? I mean, there could be many fledgling musicians out there.
That's right, and you may not know. So isn't it? It's just weird how, if she hadn't have enrolled me in these music classes, what would I be doing now?
Well,
That is
it's interesting because we, on the show a few shows ago, we had Lena Chamiel, who's a former professional ice skater, and it's kind of the same thing where she started skating at age 3 or something. But the question we asked her that kind of applies to you here: at what point, your parents gave you the lessons and encouraged you, but at what age and at what point did you make it yours or want to pursue that yourself, and it wasn't your parents' dream but your dream?
I think, I mean, I have an older brother who's about 6 years older than me. He learnt the violin as well, and there's this story that we were obviously the younger sibling who does the same thing as the older siblings, always trying to catch up, and I was 6 years behind. And my grandmother was, she saw us both playing, and my grandmother said to my mum, "Oh, she's going to overtake him one day." And it just so happens that he has the personality to give up on things if they're hard or if you're criticized, which of course in this kind of field you're going to get all the time. But I think personally I was probably about 11 when I thought, yeah, I want to do this for my career. And I just was lucky to have a teacher who really inspired me and made me love music. And that was
probably Richard's next question.
Yeah, have I preempted you?
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
But we are always curious of who was that voice in your ear maybe that gave you that word that this is something that you could do?
Well, I have to say one of the biggest inspirations for me in terms of music and what's made me and what's stuck with me all the time is Tom and Jerry. And that's going to be shocking to hear, but there's a lot of classical music in Tom and Jerry, and I think
that's right.
They play a lot of Chopin piano pieces, and they also play a lot of Johann Strauss, Viennese waltzes, and I love those. I love that style of music, and I can't help but think it's down to Tom and Jerry that's
wow.
that's
So
done
they're
that.
actually dancing. They're dancing
Well,
and they're chasing each other.
And they they're chasing each other, and they use the music so cleverly, and it just. Yeah, and there's even a whole episode on a piano concerto. It's called the Cat Concerto.
Oh, look at that. Jarvis actually has a piano concerto
That's
Tom
the one,
and Jerry
the
graphic
Cat
up.
Concerto. That's such a cool
love it.
piece. Liszt, Hungarian Rhapsody. I think.
So you
amazing.
were able to watch some cartoons.
Oh, all the time. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I love TV, and I still do.
Were there other ones besides Tom and Jerry?
Other cartoons. Yeah, there were sort of. I don't know, on Cartoon Network, that was the channel. There were things, really weird things. I don't know if they exist now, but I don't know what it was called. But the characters were called Dee Dee and Dexter, and it was very American and very bratty, sort of. I don't know. That wasn't very inspiring. It was
I don't
just
know. We'll count on our listeners if you know that.
something to pass the time.
Right.
You know that? Could name that cartoon.
Although I even got to say that I'm
Oh,
shocked
cool.
that someone of your generation even knows Tom and Jerry. I mean, that's
Yeah, and
an old
I mean the
cartoon.
classic ones, like the 30s ones.
Yeah.
And they still show them. And yeah, I think I've
Although-
seen all of them.
We're not going to play a Tom and Jerry video on the air, Jarvis, because they're going to... They flagged us last time for having Major League Baseball footage playing live. But it's an old school... I loved Tom and Jerry when I was growing up, and that was amazing. So it's so
Yeah,
cool
it
to see like
transcends.
a young person that's into Tom and Jerry that inspired her to play violin.
Yeah, I think it was part of the general loving music, and then with this inspiring teacher I had from the age of 11 to 18, he was Viennese, and he had a lot of flair as a musician, and that really stuck with me. And he's definitely the one that sort of, without him, I can't imagine of wanting to, I didn't know if I would have chosen it as a career, because there were loads of other ideas I had in my head of what I might want to do, and I always get crazy ideas. Like being a radio host is one of them.
Well,
so
they got room
I don't
here
know
for everybody. We can,
I always fancied trying, but I don't
what
know.
were the other career interests that came through?
Well, when I was very young, window cleaning, just because I liked the sort of the way,
The squeegee?
yeah, the sort of, well, just the actual the cleaning bit. That's the foaming, and then but the sort of getting rid of that, the wiping it away. That's good.
I had a window cleaning business when I was a teenager.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
It all
a great
connects,
thing.
yeah.
Definitely.
Dexter's Laboratory is what Matt Peugeot
Yeah,
suggests.
Dexter's Lab. That's it.
That is it. Matt Peugeot, thank you.
Thank you so much. This brought back memories.
So, but 11 to 18, these teen years when it's like the body wants to go and move and do and talk. Like, what was it about? What was your teacher's name? The violinist?
Gerhard Schmidt.
Gerhard Schmidt.
Wow, what a great
Yeah.
So-
classical music name.
Yeah.
So
Very
what
Germanic.
what qualities or what can you tell us a story maybe about Gerhard that helped you to want to be indoors, I take it, and focused in like that, or at least curious about practicing and, pursuing this at such a high level.
He was very passionate as a person, as a being. So when he's talking, and I think the Germanic aspect of it slotted in with, my mum's mum being German. And so there's that sort of link, and a lot of our holidays were in Germany and Austria. And so even the intonation of how he spoke was very sort of, do you feel it? Very, I don't know. I can't impersonate him. But when he's...
So he would get you into sensation in your performance.
Yeah, and he'd always play with me. And some people would say that that's actually maybe not the best kind of teaching, but I think in this case, when it's inspiring you and you're sort of learning from how he plays, he'd be accompanying me on the piano all the time, and it wouldn't necessarily be perfect playing, but he really got the musical sense of everything there and was pushing me by playing the piano so well. He would be sort of, I don't know, inspiring how I was playing with him, and then he'd play on his violin with me, and he had a very virtuosic way of playing, lots of flair, and it wasn't so technical. So, maybe the sort of more fine-tuned technical aspects of playing were a little bit left to the wayside, but the music came first with him, and I think I appreciate that. Yeah.
So did you want to go see concertos in your free time, or was it give me some more Tom and Jerry and let me go be a normal teenager? Yeah,
I feel like it was difficult because when I went to school, we had Saturday school where I was, and so I went to a specialist junior music conservatoire to have my violin lessons and my sort of music training on Saturday all day, every Saturday. And I'd been doing that since I was, it's an extracurricular activity. You're sort of focusing into something. And it was always on Saturdays because, of course, we have school Monday to Friday. So, since a very young age, my Saturdays were taken up with music. And I'd always miss out on maybe going to a party or something on Friday night or even Saturday if my friends were doing things. I'd always sort of miss out on that aspect. But then I had my friends from the musical world and I've still got them today. And I think, it's nice to know lots of people and be friends with people who are musicians and non-musicians. It's important. Yeah.
So now you have the City String Ensemble.
Yes.
How long have you had that, and how did that come to be?
It's I've been running that for about 2 years, probably. I think it's been 2 full years now. Which is scary. Time really flies, and
not only running it, you founded it, right?
Well, I one day I just finished my postgrad year at the Guildhall School of Music, where I was studying for 5 years. That's a 4-year undergraduate degree, and then I did 1 year postgrad only because I'd been there for my junior department 11 till 18, so I'd been there my whole life. And we were doing some work there while I was studying as part of a string quartet, and they'd send us out on events and maybe some weddings or corporate events. And I thought, wow, okay, I'm in my last year here, and we're going to be leaving soon. And they obviously take a cut from what we'd be earning. And I thought, well, I can do that. And I just sat down one day and made a website, and just carried on, and it's still going today. And,
well, that's incredible because to have that. That's a level of courage to break out on your own after all those years of being kind of dependent on the system.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, I remember the first time using Google Ads, and thinking that £50 was a lot of money to be risking on advertising perhaps, but it really worked out for us. And it's nice because, I get to play with my friends that I've studied with, and we play lots of styles of music as well, and I particularly like playing pop music on the violin. So
interesting.
That's very, you're going to be asked to play a lot of pop music at weddings now. So that's it's fun for me. Yeah.
I guess that puts pressure on us because you have your violin with you today. I wonder if we'll ask you for pop music or if we'll ask you for classical.
I was going to go with maybe like a folk melody, actually.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I'm an all-encompassing... No, I love playing all styles of music. And while being in LA, I have a really great musician friend who's a violinist and singer. And she's introducing me more to the world music realm. And I really like that. And I feel like it's in my blood somehow. I've always been drawn to the more ethnic style of classical music, like composers like Bartok, or there's any kind of Eastern European, because it's all based on folk songs. And I've always, like my teacher Gerhardt used to say, you take to this like duck to water, and that would be for sort of Spanish pieces that have that Moorish sort of influence. So,
wow. See, and this is I'm learning. I'm a music lover, but I've never delved into classical music that much. So this is all really interesting to me.
But what I'm hearing, Peter, is we often talk about from the somatic experience perspective about finding what feels good and the troubles that occur in our life when there's interruptions in the ability to express or feel comfortable in one's own skin. So I'm hearing this just tremendous creativity and fun. Well, I have this obviously association from my own life about interpreting that I would have to give up basketball to play the piano, but that feeling that this can be fun. Now I look at music, right? Something that can relieve, something that can ease tension, something that can be fun. It sounds like it's really an exploration for you, not only in meeting people, but of styles.
I think that's particularly now, while I was studying, and I think that's the I don't know, I think it's a great shame at the music conservatoires. It's so intense, especially the classical music world and the string instruments in particular as well. It's very competitive. And I feel like I had lost my love of music that I'd got and built up, in my early training. And it's, I think, in the last few years that I set up City String Ensemble and sort of gave myself permission sort of not to play if I don't want to, because I didn't have to. I'd finished studying and I was my own person out in the real world. And I'm doing a lot of exploration now and learning to love playing again, because it's tough mentally and physically. It is, yeah.
And speaking of playing in a whole different way, being happy to playing pop music, just really quick, what's your take on, say, Lindsey Stirling, someone who's really gained huge popularity by turning violin into something completely different than your typical audience is used to?
Yes, exactly. I actually really respect her, because this is what I mean about the classical music world. It can be very sort of, I don't know, they can always look down on people like Lindsey Stirling, who maybe don't have a sort of very classical education, but they're doing really well and are more famous than some people who would be considered very, very good at their instrument and in a classical way, and they're not famous, for example. And I always say, well, can they dance and play at the same time? Because I can't dance like she can and play. That's a skill in itself. But yeah, no, she's very inspiring for young children. They know her and they want to play violin because of her. So I think that's a great thing.
So you mentioned really quick about how, despite the fun that you have and the excitement that I hear coming through your voice, that it is mentally and physically stressful. How do you prepare for that, or how did you, begin to encounter that, where you started to realize what stress is happening on your body and how to maybe balance that out for longevity as a musician?
Yeah, I think for me, I was the mentally stressful part of it is the performances and it's the anticipation of the performance. And it will be the same in sport as well. You've got this big race coming up and you're nervous about it, and so you're training for it, or in our case, practicing for it. And you get there, and in the sports world, athletes, I'm sure, are trained in how to prepare for a moment like that. Whereas in the music world, it's sort of like, okay, if you practice enough, you'll be good enough and you can just get up there and do it. But what if you're nervous and that takes over your body? We don't know how to deal with that unless you delve into that and I don't know, or have a bad experience and then think, oh, that wasn't nice, I want to do something about that. So that was my case. And it's interesting about the essential oil you've got there, because
Shall we?
What's
We'll
that you
get
have
you a
there?
bottle. I'm holding my stress relief
What's it
bottle.
called again? Yeah, you're holding it tight. Are you stressed?
I'm giving you subliminal hints now.
No, yeah, I used something similar. What was it called? I don't know if you have it here, but it was called Rescue Remedy, and it was something. And I used it before one of my first ever exams.
Homeopathic.
When I was studying. It was supposed to just be a relaxing, and So I just took a little drop of that before I went in for my exam, and I was nervous, but, I'm always nervous before performing. It's natural, and I thought it would just help me just play my best and relax into it. And I played and I was nervous, so I didn't feel any difference. But then, my critique was very critical. And it was almost like what I had experienced in that exam room was totally different from what they had seen.
Wow.
And they talked to me about it because it's, your first year, and it's, you can talk to them a bit. And I said, well, I took this rescue remedy thing, and I said, I thought I played okay. And they're like, no, it was really weird. So, never again. But yeah, it's...
so some sensing of the nervousness or your tension might be helpful for you.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's just a mental game. But then while studying, there was an in-house physiotherapist there. And I went in for a session just, because you're playing for a long time in these orchestra concerts or rehearsals. And then if you have rehearsals all day, you might also have a violin lesson on that day. And it's just a lot of playing physically. So I'd go in for a physiotherapist session, and she had me on the table, and she just wanted to take my arm back and stretch it out above my head and behind me. And the left arm was kind of okay at that, but the right arm, she said, I've never seen anything like this. It doesn't go anywhere near the back, and down by my head. And so
the range of motion had become completely limited.
Yeah. And so that we think may have been from a previous accident. When I was young, I fell off my bike and broke my nose. So maybe I'd sort of fallen on my sort of the collarbone area is rotated. And so, so we found this out, and, I had some treatment and things, but overall they were just like, you need to bodybuild. And of course, I didn't know what I'm doing, and I didn't have the mental space or time in life to sort of pursue anything like that.
Yeah, they just put some free weights on the side of the...
what am I supposed to do? Yeah, I don't know.
How does that work?
So only now, and this is how I've met you, only now am I finally sorting all of this out, because it will really help to have strength in my upper back and arms, and it will affect my playing in a positive way.
And that's really another thing that ties it in. This is what I was getting at in the beginning, how it's all tied in with what we do right here.
It's all connected.
Go, Dr. Richard.
Well, I don't know where you're leading me, but I mean...
with what you're going to say, sorry.
Yeah.
I had to jump in there with that.
No, it's just counterintuitive, because I'm thinking to myself, the fine motor movements of the violin must cause a lot more tension in the hand and wrist muscles. Yes. But it's also, similar to, injuries for me, where I had a back injury and was always afraid of lifting with the back. But now I've come to understand, that you support the hips, you support the surrounding muscle groups. It seems like it's really like, someone in third grade might understand this, but somehow when we have a fear or previous injury, we tend to stay away from an area that needs to support. So it's kind of amazing. That your shoulders and your back, right, all that posture and having to hold yourself, using those core muscles.
Exactly. And I don't have a core, I've realized in my last few exercise sessions. And that's...
You can't find it unless you have that.
I need to, it needs to reveal itself. But
now you will be revealing it and building it.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I also wonder if maybe your right shoulder is involved with a past life. Ooh.
Well,
that's a whole nother thing.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Many theories.
But it is funny, though. I thought you were going to say your right arm was limited from always, having your chin in a certain direction or something.
No, so it's funny for me. Maybe it's a unique situation where playing the violin in itself is a very demanding. It's demanding in the way that, our shoulders are going to naturally come in because of the way we hold our instrument. And then we need to work on our posture just as a normal violinist. But with me, I've got this added extra injury here where it kind of, all the normal violin issues are there anyway. And yes, we're always trying to play in the best way, but to avoid any tension and injuries. But then I also have an injury which restricts me and causes tension. So it's kind of double hard work.
So you could be overcompensating with the surrounding muscles,
perhaps.
or yeah.
I feel like I may have done really well to get to this point with the body that I've got. So imagine when it's all fixed, there'll be no stopping me.
There
Totally.
you go.
That's going to be it.
What a healthy attitude. Yeah.
We've been teasing the audience with the fact that Sophie's going to play for us, and she will. It's a big teaser. We want to build up the anticipation and make sure that you're watching this entire 50 minutes. We're not going to wait till the end. But before we get to her playing, I am going to put Dr. Richard and Sophie on the spot a little bit here. We didn't discuss this, and I know it's always good to get Dr. Richard out of his comfort zone.
I haven't been so far. Okay.
All right. Yes. And that's the thing, too. He's never out of it. I say, like, a question on the spot like this will put him out of his comfort zone. And even if he's like, what? And then he talks for like 10 minutes about it. So here's the thing that's, once again, tying into performance, to sports. What you said earlier, too, when talking about, like, you thought you would take this thing to calm your nerves before you perform. You're always nervous when you perform. It's just like an athlete. An athlete before they hit the field, especially like a solo athlete, like in tennis or gymnastics or something like that. So I'm going to pose the question to you first, Sophie. Mm-hmm. And after you answer it, Dr. Richard, you can answer it. And, of course, while he's answering it, you can get your violin out to get ready to play.
Okay.
Oh,
This
exciting.
feels like, debate club.
I know,
I'm
right?
ready.
I'm nervous. Okay.
Well, it's an easy. You kind of maybe already answered a little bit, but there's a young musician out there, be it violinist, pianist, whatever instrument they're playing, and they're going to be doing, they have a big solo at the school concert or in their orchestra, and the nerves are flaring, so Sophie, coming from a musician with experience, what do you say to that young musician to give them inspiration and motivation to get out there and do the solo without their nerves ruining it for them? And, I would pose that same question to you, Dr. Richard, if you had, a athlete musician come in who's got the big performance coming up, what do you say to them? Sophie?
Okay.
You've got the table.
Yeah. No, that's a big question.
Yeah.
It's a really big question. I think the first thing is to understand that the nerves are natural. And that, you're going to have some sort of nerves and you want to sort of use them to your advantage. But then I've always found that as sort of not very helpful advice, because when you're about to perform, you're not going to be thinking like that. So for me, like Caitlin was saying, the breathing, making sure that you're breathing before and during the performance, because we, as violinists anyway, we forget to breathe when we're playing. And I think sort of just centering your mind and then focusing on why you're actually doing it, because you love playing, you love the piece, and just to enjoy it. But then again, that's also not helpful, because if you're nervous and you're in a stressful experience, you forget to enjoy as well. So my last violin teacher had a way of making me come out of myself before performances, and I tried it for my last final recital, which was an exam, but a big performance as well. And he was always a big fan of me, getting me to get the energy going inside of me by shouting. And I'd always not want to do that in the lessons with him. And I'd say, oh, no, I'm too shy. I can't shout. What do you mean? But yeah, so before my performance, even though I had to travel sort of into central London, I put on... this is embarrassing, onto the speaker system, The Circle of Life from The Lion King.
Nice.
And I had a big sing. I sung, a couple of times as well. And
like in the back room, or
no, right in. I was at home and there was no one in. Of course, I wouldn't do this otherwise. And so I just, I got all my energy going by doing what he said, shouting or singing, or both in my case. And yeah, I think that just got my energy going in a positive way, and I felt pumped up and ready to perform, and like I wanted to perform, rather than not wanting to perform, which is when I'd be nervous and in a negative way. I
love that story and advice.
Yeah, well, it's the circle of life. It's it's there for everyone to sing. Yeah, it's good.
I want to bust into Lion King right now.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love that tip, because even in my own cross training, I'll notice that I could be completely in a place of I can't do more. my body can't. But this belief, these negative thoughts are cycling through. The stressors are just kind of not even letting me let go of my mind to focus on the task and how, let alone to set yourself on a goal of how do I want to improve today? How do I want to meet additional goals? And then we could put on something like LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out, or I'm going to reveal here because you broke out Lion King. If you play Kesha.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, Kiara.
Oh.
Kesha is great too. But Kiara, Gold.
Oh, I don't
So
know.
there's just
Okay.
different songs, and it's like it like sets free the mind to like sing, and literally then the body is no longer inhibited,
That's right.
which is a big part of somatic experiences, which is this defensive, fear-ridden, inhibitory response is what we want to kind of do away with to perform. So it thinks it's protecting us.
Right.
So I think it's Tony Robbins, I believe, said, before he goes on stage, he kind of has this conversation with his fear. It's there. It's going to come with you. So whether or not we're excited, whether or not we're in the green room, like powering up, whether or not we had the greatest motivational speak from our coach in the locker room, there's a certain amount of anxiety and nerves that are coming onto that bigger stage or bigger stadium or, bigger stage game like the Super Bowl that you've never been to before or something like that. Like no matter how many years you've played, there should be a healthy degree of nervousness. And what we're talking about is how do you prevent that nervousness from impacting your performance? So for myself, as much as I love having you here and it's unlocking a lot of my passion for music, I would want to learn a lot more about, if Sophie's my client, I want to know, I don't know about the type of concert. I'm going to want to research where is she playing? What's the quality of, what's the pressure? What's the intensity? Maybe there's something in, for me when I visit an old theater or theaters, you would say, perhaps there's something really artistic and historic about it. Maybe there's something about sitting there, getting comfortable in the chair time before the performance where you can make kind of a visual contact with the greater extent of your surroundings, where it becomes a soothing place, where it becomes a place where you can kind of ground yourself amidst the performance. Because there are going to be these waves, maybe before a solo, it depends on the interval, right, and how long you're playing for, where there may be waves of anxiety. So having ways to ground yourself, and breathing is a great way to kind of recenter. So there are some techniques, regardless of sports or music, that we can use. But I'd want to understand more about, let's say it's, bagpipe playing. I may know very little about Scottish bagpipe playing, what the significance of this competition is, the meaning, the preparation time. I think some of the prep time is, I have no idea what it would be like for you leading up to a major concert and how much intensity goes into that. So depending on that, we would have to tailor make individually a plan, because taking into the factor all the stressors building up, and some of it may be, like they say before an exam, right? Go out and watch a movie. Don't study the moment up until the exam.
Yeah.
Don't tax your
Do
body
something
and mind.
completely different. It's just a mind game. I think there's almost no defending against it. It's just on the day, in that moment, can you win that mind battle? And and that's why I in the last few years I've been working a lot on that, and I've been doing things to purposely put me out of my comfort zone and to do embarrassing things or crazy things, like appear on game shows in the UK or whatever,
Wow.
that I
For
wouldn't-
real?
Yeah, no, I've been on 3 and I hope more, but and everything I've done of that kind of thing has actually been to help me as a violinist. And I don't know.
You make me want to go wait in line at
People
Price
won't-
is Right with you.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to be on The Price is Right.
Well, and actually, that brings up, Jarvis, if we can go ahead and before you play the violin, there's a great video that I wanted to share that I saw on your Facebook page that was...
This is embarrassing.
Absolutely.
This is definitely...
It's the one, Jarvis, where she's conducting,
Oh, yes.
and it was on her Facebook page.
Yes.
Or no, it's on the YouTube. Yeah, it's
yeah,
on the YouTube.
Yeah, that's
Here we
the
go.
one, yeah.
Thank you, Jarvis.
So we're just going to show you just 20 seconds of this,
You're
because
gonna
I thought
enjoy
this. It's funny because it's kind of like classical music humor.
Does she need some stress relief oil or breathing
I
before,
might need that
before
now.
this embarrassment? We might have to pass this down,
Well,
Jarvis.
no, actually too. I'm also building the anticipation of her playing because,
Thank you.
is she going to be nervous to play live on the air on Richard Listens on Sports? I don't know. But here's a little snippet of this video. Go ahead and play that, Jarvis. thank God you found your conductor's wand.
That is, this video, the last 30 seconds, or there's a moment where I'm really proud. It's really good conducting. But no, this was actually inspired by Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean,
Yes.
because he's so talented and musical as well. And he's got some videos of when he was younger. And he's basically doing this, but for Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Wow.
And I just think that's really funny. I thought I'd try, and these kinds of videos I make for my friends.
But I think it's great that you get out of your shell and do something like this. And I found it very, very, very funny. And if you want to watch the entire video, what is your YouTube page? Just look up
Sophie Yasmin. Yeah, on YouTube.
Or as I say, Sophie Yasmin.
I know, the proper pronunciation.
Sophie, we've actually, Jarvis, what do we have, like 5 minutes? Okay, we got 5 minutes. And Jarvis, thank you for being our incredible engineer, show after show after show. I know there's a show every now and then, like right after we're off the air, I'm like, dang, I forgot to thank Jarvis.
So you just thanked him for 3 in advance.
Yes, so thank you, Jarvis. Our amazing engineer, Jarvis Essex. So, Sophie, you're going to play a little live violin for us.
Yes, I will. It won't be 5 minutes, but
we just want like a good 30-second snippet.
Sure, I can do that.
Because the other thing too, like I don't want to forget in these last few moments, is that you teach as well, and you said you have an interesting style. No, I'm not saying you have to show that style now.
Yeah.
But let's see you play a little bit, and then I want to hear about that teaching method.
I can talk a bit about it. Yeah, absolutely. I'll just get my violin from here.
And so I think, Dr. Richard, is this the first time that we have had a live musical performance on air here on the Richard Listens on Sports show?
It is. It is the first. We are trendsetting. We are exploring new boundaries.
I'm so excited about this.
We thank Sophie for helping us in opening our minds, and as she opens hers into peak performance and physical skills and channeling them back into the music realm.
Yeah, and when we were walking here with Sophie too, she's got this like totally cool ninja carry case that we're not going to see the video. She's got a video talking about the case if you go to the Sophie Yasmin YouTube page. But we won't keep yakking because Sophie is there with the violin in hand and chin. Sophie Yasmin.
Thank you.
So this is a folk song. I think it's a French folk song, and it's called L'Indifference. So like indifference, or maybe in England you just say, whatevs, like whatever. That's probably my translation.
Awesome.
Wow. It's crazy. Like, I say I love music, but I haven't gotten that into classical music. I know this was more folk, but ladies and gentlemen, when you get to watch a violinist at top of her game play live in front of you, I've got tears in my eyes.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's moving. It's like transcendent. It's crazy. You're so good, Sophie.
Thank you very much. I learnt that melody off a friend who I know here, the violinist I mentioned earlier, and she'd probably hate the way I played it because it's not really how it should go, but I like to indulge a bit and just play it
as
my way.
As you should.
You see, that's the peak professional already critiquing her performance.
Yeah.
But I have to, I want to both, it's, I feel like I should apologize. I wasn't even listening with my eyes. Like I couldn't even keep, it like really teleports you in time or space. It's just so beautiful. I know I have to wrap up, but thank you so much for sharing that gift, and it's inspiring. I want to go find an instrument.
Yes, I can teach you. There you go. Yeah.
Wow. And so I guess we're not going to actually get to hear too much about your teaching technique because we only have a minute left. Mm-hmm. But
let people know how to reach you.
Yeah.
Get lessons.
So people can, we've already said, find you on YouTube if you look up Sophie Yasmin.
Yes.
That's YASMIN. And
Yes.
they can also they could find the City
String Ensemble.
Ensemble.com.
That's, yeah, and then there's a contact form on there that you can contact me through. Yeah, absolutely.
And
Please.
we are here in LA, and you are giving lessons as well, correct?
Well, not quite yet, as I can't officially work here yet. But if all goes well with my visa application, then that's certainly I want to bring this method here because it doesn't exist in the US, and it needs to be here. And
What's it called?
It's called color strings. So color would be spelled the European way, O-U-R, one word, color strings, and it's really amazing. If we had more time, I'd tell you all about it. I get very, happy to talk about it.
I know it's funny. Like this happened on our last show too. Like right when, not that it wasn't exciting talk before then, but it's like, oh man, if we had 20 more minutes, because now it's going to get really exciting.
Well, we'll have to bring her out. We'll do all the music for the show in violin.
Yes.
Yeah.
and actually what we could do maybe is like, maybe we'll do like some sort of like, have you do some sort of 5-minute video talking about this style and playing a little bit that we could post on our page for our audience.
I'd love to do that.
Okay.
That's great.
So there you go.
Thank
So
you.
stay tuned on Richard Listens on Facebook.com, Richard Listens, and we'll be posting that video in the next week or two at some point so you can see more of that. So Sophie Yasmin, thank you so much for being our guest here on Richard Listens on Sports here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And to our audience, thank you for watching. We'll be back actually, I believe we still have to talk to Tony, but I believe it's not going to be in 2 weeks, but 3 weeks on December 11th and 18th. We'll do back-to-back Mondays instead of every other Monday. So we have Paul Shirley coming up. And don't forget, you could reach Dr. Richard on Facebook.com/RichardListens, on RichardListens.com.
Instagram.
And Instagram and Twitter at RichardListens.
And Sophie Yasmin is our friend on Instagram. So.
Yes. Yeah, and she's at Sophie_Yasmin. So,
and we want the feedback. We need the interaction. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate your feedback, your contributions. Listeners make this show happen. So please shoot us a line. Shoot us a direct message on Instagram. Let us know what topics interest you, how you feel about the show.
Here. And I'm Donut
Happy
Spirit
Thanksgiving.
on Instagram. Happy Thanksgiving. And a final thanks to Organic Relief and Crest Bar, our sponsors. Dr. Richard is the promo code, organicrelief.com or organicrelief.us, promo code Dr. Richard, Dr. Richard for a 10% discount. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in a couple weeks on Richard Listens on Sports.
Shows that make you laugh. Shows that make you think. Music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.